Let's have a lesson and discussion on this work. Follow the lesson for free and just pick up all the tips for free from the video. But if you're interested, I do have a sheet music edition of this work, and there's a link for that in the description. So this is study number 5 from his Op.40. This is a collection of exercises and studies for the guitar called the Indispensable. I was going through it and I selected this one because I thought it was a really excellent etude or study. Really focusing on alternation, of course, in the upper voice that you can hear through the entire work. But a number of other things come up as well, both musical and technical. So why don't we just start with some of the technical objectives here. Of course, we have the alternation in the upper voice. I'm using MI or IM, and that's a really great workout from start to finish. It's doing that in 16th notes. But I also recommend practicing it with A and M or MA, making it an excellent study for those two fingers as well. So a really great piece to just work that alternation. On top of that, from other technical perspectives, the left hand has a little bit of technical work in terms of staying on their fingertips when you do these kinds of melodic things with an open string above it. If your fingers are flattened over or you're not playing on the fingertips, the potential exists to accidentally mute out that open string. So it's kind of a good left hand workout as well. From a musical perspective, we have quite a few things to work on here. We have the working of that upper voice. Now, sometimes in this piece, the upper voice is just kind of static. Like in the first 12 measures of the piece, it's just an open E. So it's not really functioning like tremolo or something where it's melodic material. But later on, it does. At section 25, like the upper melody definitely has a melodic contour, and the lower voice is really just outlining chord shapes or arpeggios and harmonic functions. Even at like measure 13, you start to have activity in both voices, the lower voice and the upper voice. So although it's static sometimes you actually get to really work it as a melodic figure. Also, plenty of opportunity here to work on smooth bass lines that, even if they are kind of outlining chords just sometimes, they are pushing the phrase and the momentum forward in the piece. And certainly in terms of shaping and dynamic shaping and whatnot, that bass line really brings you through. So there's lots to work on in terms of phrasing there. And just the balance between the two voices. Sometimes you're going to be keeping that upper repeated note quite soft and suppressed. Other times you're going to let it come out quite a bit when it has more melodic interest in it. So lots of work to do on balance and phrasing. Also, in terms of like taking the piece and looking at it from a larger perspective, you want to really decide just, where your smaller phrases are. Maybe that's every 2 measures, but also where your large section ends are, and then you can relax the tempo there and kind of start new sections afresh. He marks some of those in there, but not all of them, or not all the ones that I do anyway. When you're practicing the piece, yes, it's great to work it with a metronome because you want those notes to be even, but you also, like I was saying, you want to make sure that you turn that metronome off after you've worked it lots and bring some relaxation into the piece, because you don't want it to be machine gun fired the whole time. You do have to break it up and add some form to the piece. Some of that is outlined just through his dynamic shaping in terms of 2-bar phrases. Other times, like at the end of 16, a big writ leading to an A tempo is really useful. I even do it again at measure like 19 and measure 20. I add a writ in there and start again at 25, and even again at 32. So yes, you want to work evenness of that repeated figure, but also add some breath to the piece so it doesn't become too repetitive in rhythmically speaking. So I think that gives you some ideas to work with and some main focus points to focus on when you're practicing. So what we'll do is we'll just do a little run through of the piece now and have some other musical discussions as we go. Not too much to discuss in terms of fingering, but most of the time it's just you using a fingering so that you can outline chord shapes and harmonies in the piece. So you can just watch out for that. So I'll go quite a bit slower. You can let that all ring out as an E minor chord. But I would highlight just that E on that one so you don't get too many of those other notes ringing out. And then you get a little bit more excitement here, and you can let it grow and to the top of the 2-bar phrase. Yeah, and you just have to really remain on your fingertips for that material when you have an open string there. You could even practice like a little open string exercise where you play the second string notes along with the open E string, just to make sure you have clearance and you're not accidentally muting the first string by bad curvature in the finger. So just on your fingertips, curved fingers, so that you're not muting that E. From measure 7. The accents, that offbeat. Come down a little bit and grow through this section. And now the upper voice takes on, you know, a little bit more melodic activity of both voices being active. Space here, and a big rit there for this A tempo. I do a gliss here. I add quite a bit of space in this measure just because it feels like it's not going just yet. And then here, I miss that all the time. You have to be careful of that one. And then I use the open string. Here, keep your second finger down as a guide, so you can make that difficult jump to the 7th position, but you have quite a bit of security with that second finger down. A big rit there, then A tempo. Here, the upper voice has, you know, a decent amount of melodic interest as well. In fact, really from measure 17 onward, the upper voice really takes on a life of its own. Along with the bass line outlining of the harmonies. So measure 25. Yeah, you have like non-chord tone suspensions here. That B is not part of the chord, but it resolves to that A. So just soften it a little bit. Get a little sense of relief there and not so much push. And then it starts again. Starts to push again. And now he ends the piece much like he started it, just with the static E's and lots of figuration in the bass, just outlining chords. In this case, it's just E minor for the rest of the piece. Strings. That's what it is. And he actually notates that arpeggiation of the final chord, not just like a little line. Really great etude, full of all sorts of energy and some surprise kind of harmonies that I just wasn't expecting from this time period and this particular collection for sure. Almost to the point where I just was surprised that it was in the collection. But I really loved the etude aspect of alternation there and how the upper voice kind of eventually takes on much more melodic material. making the piece quite interesting, and there's just so much musicality that you can add to the technical challenge as well, making it just an excellent etude or study.